Right. The Bills are set to take on the Chiefs Sunday at Arrowhead in what is undoubtedly the most anticipated matchup of the season. While the victors gain an edge regarding the home field advantage, the real winner is crowned in January. Stick around for our breakdown. This is the Friday Night Forecast.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming to rep the East. Buffalo bad with a vengeance. We resurrected the team, man, we dangerous. Watch for these horns, they lacerate and cut. We don't play no game while we play this game. No, I playing us. You know what it's about, you made me wanna shout. They said to take it now, we took another route. Deuces to the drought. Play through all the doubters, finger pointing and laughing. The ones that was talking that trash are the same ones circling wagons. We ain't having it. Dominate divisions ever since we put the L in it. Knocks the competition out the stadium like hammer fist. Stephon Diggs a grave and he pays respects to the cornerbacks that can't cover quickness, then he catches it. In 1995 to 2020, break the streak. Kept the faith in every season for the team, cause I believe. Taught me no matter how many times you're down, do not accept defeat. Feel like number 17. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. Josh. Yeah.
Got me feeling like I'm
Who? Josh. Yeah.
Josh Allen.
Yeah. Succeed the most in the freezing cold. Break a couple tables in a parking lot with sleet and snow. Yeah. Put the work in with Sean McDermott, a worthy coach. Y'all can get the hands like a Wilson ball when it's Beasley thrown. Yeah. Got so many yards to the point we owning property. I remember haters talking foolish with that gossiping, but they don't want it with Buffalo. Cause when the winter storm hits, they'll be stuck with nowhere to go. Let's play Micah hide and seek. We'll find a week up on the field. Say hike and we'll unleash the likes of Trey White and Edmonds. All kinds of D. Back in the driver's seat, a Singletary. He's sprinting scary to carry the ball through the plane. Embarrass these adversaries, prepare to be victimized. We gave New England pats up on their back. Told New York to jet, they left the scene and packed their bags. Went fishing for some dolphins, left them beached up on the sand. AFC East champs. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. Josh.
Got me feeling like I'm
Who? Josh. Yeah.
Josh Allen.
Happy Friday, Bills Mafia. Welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Forecast on the Cold Front Report. I'm your host, Travis Blakesley. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get started, please go ahead, show us some love with a like, a share, and subscribe so that you can stay up to date with all things Bills. Remember, you can listen to this show and any of our other shows in podcast form by searching for the Cold Front Report on your favorite audio app. Tonight, I'm joined by my co-host, Cody. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing great after that blowout victory against the Steelers. Couldn't be better.
Yeah. I mean, according to Herm, we probably could have got 50 and they could have been better, but
They could have gotten 50, but listen, playing the Steelers for me is like PTSD between Stevie Johnson dropping that OT touchdown and the 2004 game, week 17, where the Bills were win and get in and couldn't do it against the backups. You know, anytime beating Pittsburgh is a good day.
the rise of Willie Parker, was that
The rise of, yeah, I was in the stands for that game.
Oh, poor you.
Yeah, that game sucked.
Yeah, nothing's like going to a Bills game except for when they lose.
Yeah, the Jets did their part. They lost, and all we had to do was beat a couple of backup guys to get in there, and that
Who was the
Trout
quarterback?
wouldn't have stayed on.
Who was the XFL quarterback?
Oh, God. I don't know. I can even –
Chat, help us out. We know is Tommy Maddox. Tommy
Maddox, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, speaking of that blowout, what did you think about last week's game? Obviously, the big play, the return of the explosive plays. I mean, we saw a lot of methodical drives early on this season, and it looked a lot of like a Dayball style offense. And the yard after catch, return of the yard after catch. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you have perfectly placed balls over the top where a defender can't get to it, you're going to get that yak. So Oh, it was great. It's my favorite kind of game where I can kind of sit home and get all fat and sacks, eating snacks. There was there was nothing to be worried about. Even kind of, I wouldn't even call it a slow start, because they scored on the third play. But the Steelers did go down and drive and score, and you kind of thought maybe, all right, maybe something's going to happen here, and then you never really got that feeling again. It was over.
Now, I do have one major gripe with the game is I was robbed the second half of football.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good thing, but I mean, just nothing happened after that. It was nice to sail into the week, but yeah, I look forward to. We put a lot of preparation in as fans. Uh, we want four quarters.
yeah. It would have been in reality. It probably would have been about 60-10. Or well, I shouldn't even give them 10. Why am I giving them 10? They
Right,
were
right,
playing to still score, so I don't know why they would have scored 60 points without a doubt in my mind. I mean, you look at Josh Allen and where he ranks in the NFL right now, and you got to take away a half of football between taking two fourth quarters off. Um,
right.
it's great in the sense of, you go into a big showdown with the Chiefs and you kind of get like a little bit of you get to play three quarters of a game and sit back and relax. And, he only took one quarterback hit, other than, plays where he run the football. But hey, it was a good day.
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit further. The defense, bend but don't break. It gave up the yardage. Kenny Pickett looked pretty good. That wide receiver core is very talented. They targeted Elam. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, bend but don't break. They kept everything in front of them. There was nothing that was going to get beat over the top, which is something that obviously Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, who's a person that we highlighted. And I know myself, I definitely had a few good things to say about him. And, you can't, he's 6'3", he runs a 4.4. The guy can bend in all sorts of directions and make all kinds of contested catches. So that's a big matchup for Elam. It was probably, as far as like a specimen of a wide receiver, probably his hardest challenge to date. It's going to happen. He really hasn't had many growing pains so far this year. And so, he had a few, but he also got a pick. So listen, you live and you learn.
Right, right. And who are we to judge based on coverage running? They're running. Who really knows? But when the PFF grade, I already knew that halfway through the game, I was like, this is going to be a disastrous PFF grade based on the receptions allowed. And I don't know if they were playing a bit more man. I didn't rewatch the game, but most of the times he was out there on an island against his receiver. And if you paid attention, there are a lot of outs, a lot of comebacks. So playing a little bit softer coverage.
Very
But
soft.
yeah, at the end of the day, though, you got to score points. 300 and how many ever yards there were, you don't end up with points. You only end up with three. And please, for the love of anything holy, why are we kicking? Why are they kicking field goals? That
What
is
a
so
joke.
conservative. Yeah, I mean he's a
What a
great
joke.
coach, Tomlin, but that is just you're. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm right there with you. I thought that was asinine.
Yeah, and I will like to pat myself on the back for the Najee Harris comments because he didn't even look average. He just
Yeah.
give the credit to the Bills defense, but he wasn't moving the pile. He wasn't breaking tackles. He wasn't elusive in the passing game. I don't really see much with him.
He's Derrick Henry without the ability to break tackles, you
And
know,
slower.
and slower too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, seems like a nice guy, but yeah, it's kind of run 2 or 3 yards, run to the back of the lineman and get tackled.
That's that.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I want to touch on, I could turn it over to you if you have anything else to talk about, but the pass rush, it wasn't necessarily there as much as one would hope against a rookie quarterback. Does that concern you going against a Patrick Mahomes who you can't blitz? And really, the only success we or the Bills as a team and other teams who have beaten him or given him fits, the only way to do it is with your front four. Does that give you any pause going into this week's matchup?
Sure, it gives you a little bit of pause, but the thing with the Steelers was it was 3-step drop, hit your first read. If it wasn't
Right.
there, the Bills were playing 10 yards off, 7 yards off. It wasn't like you said. We gave him a huge cushion. We weren't really challenging the kid, and you didn't need to. It's 38-3 or 30, whatever it was, progressively getting worse as it went. So you didn't really care if they got 10 yards. I don't think that we're going to be playing the same way. And they did leave guys in to help sometimes. So does it concern me? Yeah, sure it does. But, maybe not as much as,
We're
others
not
would.
ringing any alarms.
No, I'm not ringing an alarm.
All right. So let's move on to some roster moves. Everybody's favorite cornerback back at practice, Trey White. I mean, it pretty much went down as most fans and analysts expected. I think everyone was targeting that Green Bay game, or at least post bye. He can either hit that game. He's got one more week after that, or else he's got to be shelved for another 4 weeks. What are your thoughts on Trey White and his return?
I think that they're playing it pretty perfectly, to be honest with you. You bring him in now, you get his feet wet, you get his conditioning up to speed. Um, he's not challenged to play this weekend, and then you have a bye week. You see how his body reacts, and then you ramp up for the next week against Green Bay. If he's ready to go and his body feels right, then you roll with him. If not, then you wait another week. I mean, the young quarterbacks have been playing well. We're not, playing better than expected, I would say. And, I think you just take it the way they have been, which is week by week, and see where he is. They'll get him activated before the end of it.
Yeah, we're going to see Trey White. Last question on him. Do you believe we're going to see 100% go, or you're going to see your 2-series rotation with Benford or Elam?
I think he'll have a snap count.
Yeah.
At least for a couple of weeks, maybe even just 1 week. I mean, we know he's kind of a workout warrior.
Yeah, but
you've heard it.
nothing's like game speed, though. That's
No, but the guy's a former All-Pro, and they have taken their extra time with it. He's getting back to practice this week. Let's just say he has 2 weeks of practice, and 1 week of limited snaps, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know who comes after Green Bay, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's full go by then.
Agreed. One other move they made was signing Brandon Bryant to the active roster. Jordan Phillips is probably up in the air. So having a guy like him ready to be thrown in that rotation, that's what it spells to me. Other news around the league before we move on to the injury report. The concussion protocol.
Wait, what? Just touching on Brandon Bryant. When we were doing the preseason, both you and I highlighted that we thought that he would make this roster.
Right.
And I mean, to be honest with you, every time he's been up, he's made plays, he's been a solid contributor. I'm surprised that he is not on another team.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get picked up. I don't know if I'm looking at the film wrong or just the plays I've seen him in the regular season. I've seen him get knocked off the ball quite a bit. Again, you can only watch so much from the press or from the television, but the one guy that I actually liked and they got rid of him was what was his name? Emili or it's not.
Yeah,
That's
Prince
Yeah.
Emil.
So if you go back to one of, I think it was the goal line stand. It wasn't it may have been second or third down when Matt Milano kind of knifed in and made the tackle on J.K. Dobbins. Prince Emili, he took on his guy. He took on the lead blocker that was coming to get on Milano and just completely took 3 guys just clear out of the play, and he cleaned it up. And then he gets the next day.
I recall that as well. And I think actually wasn't Brandon Bryant in on the play as well, and didn't he stunt around and cleared it out for Milano. So those 2 guys are the guys that made that play, and Milano cleaned it up. A great play by him, but yeah, just touching. I'm surprised that Dabo with the Giants or another team hasn't seen him, at least brought him in as a rotational player. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
bit surprising,
the
but
Giants
I'm
for
glad.
sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that they were able to bring him back.
Of course, can't have enough in the rotation for this coaching staff.
Yeah,
Like I was saying earlier, we'll just touch on what's going on around the league. Concussion protocols. This has me worried because um, what's his name? The Dolphins quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I don't know. He did first play of the game didn't even look not even he didn't even look like it hurt him at all, and then they're taking him off the field and automatic no go for the rest of the game. This is concerning, especially when the NFL wants the quarterbacks to be in the game. I get protecting them, but this is the classic case of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and yeah, I don't know what good can come from this outside of most likely the rarity of what happened with Tua. Your thoughts?
yeah, yeah. My thoughts are Miami blowing it for everybody. I mean, that's
Right.
my thoughts right there. I mean, they opened a can of worms up that now is going to screw half the league at some point. I mean, that's our worst fear, right? Is Josh Allen taking a knock where, a player like Tua, who we've talked about in the past as being a slighter guy, he's not able to take that punishment that Josh is. And then he's going to, take one step in the wrong direction and they're going to call him for concussion, remove him for the game. I mean,
Right.
that's the biggest fear that we have. Obviously, if you're concussed, you're concussed. But you know, if any time a guy gets a hard hit, if he moves slightly wrong, they're going to pull him out of the game. Then this is going to be dreadful.
Which is a shame because with Tua, if you noticed, he grabbed his head, he got up, he kept shaking his head. So the minute they talked about back injury, I mean, he's literally shaking the cobwebs out. And then he goes on the walk and he stumbles, and then he gets help and stumbles again when someone else is helping him. So it was clear and obvious. And the rules that were in place should have prevented that. But
Yeah,
clearly it's, whether it is that guy who was hired who took the fall, because obviously he's going to be the fall guy, or it was a collaboration between them and the Miami staff. It's a shame because it was clear and obvious. And then when they play 4 days later, no one's talking about it until it happens again, and then everybody's up in arms as if they threw their body out there to prevent him from being on the field that night game. It kind of bothers me because that's like our society where it's whatever's front and center at that moment.
yeah. And I think that we're Mike McDaniel doesn't seem to have a finger on the pulse down there in Miami, and I think he just goes along with what anybody tells him. You're seeing it now with Ping Pong Gate.
Right.
He just seems to be this guy that shows up and I don't know. He's like a stoner or whatever he is, and they kind of, he might be a good offensive mind, but seemingly he's kind of just out there. And his training staff probably gave him the green light on Tua, just like his players were like, yeah, we removed this ping pong table
Right.
to so we can
Who
really.
who did that for the Bills?
I don't
Was
know.
it Rex Ryan or was it a Doug Marone? I know somebody removed it, like
It
all the
sounds like a
tables.
real Doug Marone move.
Right. Not
Saint
petting the
Doug.
dog. All right. Before we get into the injury, Devontae Adams, just quick, what are your thoughts on this whole debacle walking through
It's
the tunnels?
another non-starter, another guy looking for a payout. Listen, I mean, you shouldn't shove the guy, but you know, these are professional athletes. The guy just lost a heartbreaker. He's acting out, wasn't appropriate, but to get shoved by another grown man, you kind of just go down softly, and then you go to the hospital, and now you're trying to sue. And I mean, grow up, Peter Pan.
Well, listen, I'd sue too.
Oh God, come on,
um,
come on.
it's I don't know. Does it fall on Kansas City's security? Not letting this dummy walk across the opening where all the players are filing out to. Again, whatever we think about him, Devontae Adams gets paid millions to not do that. I mean,
Yeah, but
what
listen, everybody, this is
Ron Artest went in the stands and beat up some people. It's not quite to that level, but it's just
no,
like
it's not, and it was a stupid move. Not gonna
right.
say it wasn't, but everybody in whatever career path, whatever job you get frustrated, and for somebody, it's just wrong place, wrong time, and to try to come down and try to make him something of a monster or whatever the media wants to make him out to be, and to try to sue him and all this bullshit, I think is just where we are in society.
Right.
It's like that guy running on the field
Yeah,
and getting tackled and trying to, like, come on, man.
yeah. Doug brought that up.
Yeah, it's
Well,
absolutely insane.
yeah, and again, it's who knows what they'll get, but that guy will never be allowed on an NFL field again. I guarantee you that. Even if he does get money, but just the last thing I'll say to that, just to play devil's advocate, I drive all the day, like for my job. I'm driving all the time. When I have a bad day, I don't drive people off the road either. So
Yeah, but your job isn't to drive.
what? No,
You
it
drive.
is.
You're the driver.
No, I'm just saying I'm driving.
I know.
All the
Everybody
time.
gets to work.
No, but my job is remote. I'm driving to this client's
All right.
house and then that client. All I'm saying is just just you could have bumped into him. You didn't. It's like the pass interference. Anyway, not important. Injury report. Looking like we're getting healthy over here.
We are getting healthy, and I wrote next to the previous. Oh, this is my last note. About to read the wrong shit. I'm just going to kind of skip through this today because there's 30 people on there between the Bills and the Steelers, but really it's very, very small. And if you kind of read between the lines here, so no Sunday scaries today for the injury report, although you probably will need your CBD gummies for this game on Sunday because our anxiety will be through the roof.
Right.
But for the Bills, the only one with a designation for out this weekend is Kumaro with the high ankle sprain. And then Jordan Phillips has a questionable designation with the hamstring. So everything else is clear. Now, whether Benford plays with the broken hand or if they keep
He
him
was the
out.
only one still in the non-contact, right? I believe.
I mean, I have him. Let's see what I have him today as limited practice. So I don't know if he was wearing a red jersey or
Yeah,
not.
I'm pretty sure he was, but you're right. Like no Jordan Poyer in it.
No,
Jordan
no.
Phillips,
Everybody
no.
else had a clearance, designation on them. So
Sweet.
yeah, it looks like that the Bills are getting healthy at the best time. If we can get out of this game, it would be great with the bye coming up and get these guys, coming back from that. Trey White and Kumaro and whoever else is nursing stuff. Like obviously Ed Oliver's probably got the foot, but he's a full practice. So yeah, it looks like we pretty much have our full squad this weekend. Now for the Chiefs, they got 3 guys that were called out. Tershawn Wharton, he's a D tackle with a knee. Brian Cook, safety with a concussion. And the one that's probably the most concerning for them is cornerback Rashad Fenton. He's a starting cornerback, so that one hurts a little bit. Harrison Butker will be back since he hasn't played since week 1. That's the kicker for anybody that doesn't know. Couple of little sidebars here. Trent McDuffie will not be activated from IR. So that means that Joshua Williams will get the start for the Chiefs. So they're going to have a young secondary. Two starters this weekend is going to be rookies. So
Right. They drafted 3 rookie cornerbacks.
I think they took 4.
4? Well, you
Yeah.
got McDuffie, Watkins, and Williams, right? You said?
You have Watkins, McDuffie, Watson. I think there was 4, and I was reading something on the Chiefs, and that came up. I couldn't tell you the name off the top of my head, but I don't get caught up on it.
Who did Gabe Davis break ankles? Was that Fenton, or is it somebody not on their team anymore?
Ooh, I don't know. I know the play you're talking about where he faked outside and went inside, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Either
somebody
way,
can comment.
I mean, the Bills are a classic example of starting rookies and it going right. for them so far. So as much as I want to hang my hat on that and really talk to that point, I know Watkins has played well so far for a, I don't know, was he a 6th-round rookie, I believe? The Christian Benford of Kansas City. So there'll be new guys, new faces out there. I don't think there's not many corners that you're going to line up against a Diggs or a Davis that are going to completely take them out of the game. And
Yeah.
I do think we'll get into it, but it's going to be something to look out for as long as we can protect, right?
Yeah. I mean, their secondary is completely different. Completely
Right. So
different.
let's just, while we're there, we'll start with the Bills offense into the Kansas City defense.
Okay. So, just to start off, we're talking about the secondary. So, last year they had Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu. This year it's going to be Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed. Justin Reed comes over from Houston. Thornhill's been there for a couple of years, but he was their third safety. And then as we just touched on it, Watson, I don't know if he's a 6th or a 7th-round player. Just to highlight him real quick, another cool story. I did this with the Dolphins. The guy, he played for USC. He actually was ineligible to play for grades, got kicked out of school, went home to Georgia, went and worked at Wendy's, and got his stuff together, and then went back and played for Washington State and got drafted. So here he is, and then he was in week 2 against the Chargers. He was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week with a 99-yard pick six.
Right?
Yeah. So he starts outside. He's going to start outside L'Jarius Sneed. And then you'll see – oh, no. Sneed is going to go play – he'll play inside. He'll play the nickel role. And then the other guy that we just highlighted, Joshua Williams, he's going to start outside. So, if you're the Bills, that has to be highlighted. I mean, there's no way that you can't go after these guys. The Chiefs, they rely on a 4-man pressure similar to the Bills. So, you have Chris Jones, who's a game wrecker. He's probably the best player on that defense, where he is the best player. Frank Clark is a solid player. The sacks probably aren't there this year. I think he's got 1.5. But they're going to rely on their 4-man pressure. If they're not able to do it, that secondary, I'm not sure they can hold up. And that's where it kind of comes in. We'll see what happens there.
Right. I mean, this Chiefs defense, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the defensive line. They've played the run well up until last week. Jacobs had a career game against them, but up until then, I think they were ranked about 3rd. But the biggest concern, if I were a Chiefs fan, is the lack of turnovers. I believe they only have 4, maybe 5. But they're not getting turnovers. Frank Clark doesn't really look like himself yet. There's some rumblings about him not being, nagging injuries. You always hear at the end of a year, the Jerry Hughes with the wrist, or you always hear of these things that crop up mid-season, and then you don't really find out about them too much. Other than that, I mean, Jones, obviously, he's a game wrecker, and that sack strip land on top of Derek Carr, get a flag type deal. I mean, that was an amazing play. Unfortunately, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
But they don't really seem to be too much of a dynamic defense. The Sneed is up there. Him and Taron Johnson, I mean, take your pick. But outside of that, Willie Gay's not playing. He's suspended, right? Nick Bolton is a good linebacker.
He's a side linebacker, yeah.
Yeah, but Willie Gay was that kind of sideline linebacker that would make a bigger difference in a Bills game, in my opinion. Do they have the horses to run with the Bills? They didn't have them last year. Unfortunately, the Bills, took a little too long for them to kick it up a notch. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, Sorensen is a player. I wish he was still on the field. He didn't really have that athleticism. They're younger. They're probably a little bit faster, but they're full of inexperience. You saw Devontae kind of a couple plays where he kind of took over the game. They got a couple penalties for pass interference. And really, for the year, they have 105 passer rating against them. So people are able to throw on his defense, and we are the best offense that they've seen this year. So I fully expect that they're not going to be able to stop us. It's just whether they can keep up with us, But yeah, I mean, you touched on it with Frank Clark. I don't think he looked the same last year. He's a solid player. He's above average when healthy. I don't know what he's dealing with now, but Chris Jones is the one that really scares me because in reality, Saffold and Bates really haven't been all that great.
Right.
Saffold especially.
He's been underwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially in the run game.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that if I had a point where, I'm a little bit nervous, I guess I would probably highlight that Chris Jones versus the guards for the Bills. Outside of that, like you said, there's, Janarius Sneed he's a top nickel. Thornhill's a decent safety, but there's no huge playmakers on that. Tyrann Mathieu is a big loss for, he's a great player.
Yeah, he's a guy who makes plays where that's exactly what they're lacking. Like you mentioned, Chris Jones, it's a strength on weakness for them. Mitch Morse, great center, but he's the kind of guy. He's more of a finesse center. He's not. I don't think his point of attack is all that strong. And it doesn't have to be for what he does. You get him out on the edge, you do pin and pulls, all that kind of stuff. He's great with Allen under center, obviously, and he's really the lead cart on the train when it comes to getting the offense going. Obviously, he's touching the ball every time, but he's making the calls. He's communicating with the guys next to him. But like you mentioned, Roger Saffold was a guy who was a Pro Bowler last year. He is supposedly a road grader in the run game, but there's been a lot of times where he's been underwhelming. And as much as we love Ryan Bates, he's an average player in the league. So when a lot of players were talking about, who can you poach from Kansas or from Carolina, that who's the guard that they have? What was his name?
Not John Miller, I hope.
No. They have a solid guard, and that's who I'm looking for. It's like I'm not looking for a running back, wide receiver, yeah, maybe, but I think cadet, something like that. I don't know, but anyway, looking for more solid guard play because most of the times when Allen does get affected, it's up front, and it's not, or excuse me, through the middle of the that defensive line. So we'll see how the offense comes to scheme Chris Jones. I tell you what, I'm just glad that they didn't lose. I don't want to play the Chiefs coming off of a loss. That's for sure.
Yeah. So they have Michael Jordan and Austin Corbett.
Yeah, Corbett. He's a real good guard, and that's who I was looking to poach off that roster. All right, let's flip it over. Bills defense versus the vaunted Kansas City Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I think, you saw what they did against the Raiders. They had a slow start, and then Travis Kelce took over that game. I mean, it starts and it stops with Travis Kelce. You slow down that player, and you can slow down this offense. I mean, Mahomes is, arguably the best quarterback in football, arguably. I wouldn't trade hours for him, but, he's as good as they come. And, the rest of the guys, Juju, Valdez-Scantling, they're solid role players. They have speed. McCole Hardman really hasn't done much this year. He's been kind of quiet. I know people on fantasy are probably a little bit upset with him. But, we did a great job against the Ravens and that tight end over there. I feel like you play a little two-man on the tight end. Don't let him release, especially in the red zone. What the Raiders did there was just baffling to me. Their fourth touchdown, the guy wasn't even covered. I mean, how does that even happen? So, for me, you're going to play your two-man show. They're going to stay in nickel. We know what the Bills do. the key here is getting that pressure with the 4-man front. Enter Von Miller, and then I forgot. I think it was Cassell or somebody said that maybe move Rousseau more inside this week. Mahomes isn't the tallest guy. Get those hands up on that big 6'8" guy, and see if you can cause some havoc there. The Bills have been. When I look at the Bills' defense versus the Chiefs' offense, I'm much more comfortable with that matchup than if I was the Chiefs and it was my D going against the Bills. Oh,
Right.
I feel like we could do stuff here. We have playmakers at every level, especially with guys being healthy. Tremaine Edmonds being back, the corners being back, Poyer will be back. It's just really locking down Travis Kelce. That's the one where that makes us all nervous. He's the one that's going to score the touchdowns. I'd like to know what part of the offense he is percentage-wise. But, I mean, the Bills never do anything that's too out of character. They stay in nickel. They play fundamental. They keep things in front of them. And, like we said before, take the book out of Belichick, or the page out of Belichick's book, I should say, and bracket the tight end. 2-man all day.
All right. We got our first Chiefs fan over here. All right. Allen has yet to beat Mahomes at any playoff level. These are facts. Indeed, they are. Mahomes has been to two Super Bowl 2 times, winning one and Super Bowl MVP. You sound crazy comparing Mahomes to Allen. I don't even think that was ever referenced, Mr. David. Nobody. I'll compare him all day, but we didn't do that yet.
Well, I said that I wouldn't trade our quarterback for him. I said he's arguably the best quarterback in football.
That's fine. That's fine. But one thing that David forgets is that a quarterback wins and losses is not a quarterback stat. So you can take that home with you. You just sound like you're projecting because listen, one of my best friends is a Kansas City Chiefs fans. And the amount of trash we talk to each other is zero. We both have respect for the teams. We both have respect for the quarterbacks. We both have respect for the coaches because that is the fact, David. The reality is that, yes, Josh Allen is every bit as good as Patrick Mahomes. Are the Bills every bit as good as Kansas City when they won the Super Bowl? If you're talking about wins and losses, they haven't. They haven't done it. Nobody's sitting here saying that. But this is 2022, and there's no need to continue on. I don't know. Maybe it's a projection. Maybe you're getting a little bit worried because you got some competition. But clearly, these are two teams that are on the same level. And if you want to use past, Super Bowls past, great. That's fine for you. But that really doesn't have any relevance in 2020. So
when you're a fan of a team, and you have players that are both at an elite level, like these two players are, it's going to be very hard to find someone that's going to go, okay, yeah, I will trade you our franchise quarterback for your franchise quarterback. Josh Allen he just kind of, they always say he fits Buffalo perfectly. And I'm sure Patrick Mahomes does for Kansas City. We got our guy. You can have your guy. At the end of the day, well, I think both franchises are going to be happy. But, hey, listen, we'll see how it goes.
Right. And if anything dictates, you want to use past to dictate the future, just look at the last 2 games. I mean, you can even throw in the last 3 games. But at the end of the day, quarterbacks, they account for a majority of snaps and the outcome of the game. But, there's a team around them. And, without having Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league, but that's still one guy. And, as long as they don't treat him like Las Vegas did, then great. All right, let's see what else he has. How many seasons has Allen played for the Bills now? I don't understand
since 2018.
the relevance to it. But thank you for boosting our views there, David. Anyway. Sidetrack. So yes, I agree with you. I think that Kansas City has there. I think outside of obviously playing at home, I think that the the scale tips a little bit in the Bills' favor on paper. That
I agree.
doesn't, that doesn't count for anything once the ball is kicked off. But the reason why I say that is because you have a wash at quarterback, right? Wide receivers
Bills.
leans to the Bills. Tight ends leans to Kansas City. Offensive line is probably the biggest difference, in my opinion, between the two teams.
Well, they're inverted.
Right.
The Chiefs, they have very good guards. Interior, they're very good. On the outsides, they're not very good. We have
Yeah.
good tackles. We're not very good on the inside.
They have probably the best guard center combo there, and they're young and they're going to be there for a long time. But I agree with you. The tackles. I don't know. Orlando Brown, he seems to think he's an all pro left tackle. I don't even think the Chiefs are thinking that. But either way, I'll give the slight edge there. But when you're talking weapons, and if you can't get to either one of these quarterbacks, that's the difference in the game. And we'll get to our keys in the game, but it's silly to sit here and really, we can analyze the game, and again, it's on paper, but the players do the talking on the field. Anything left you want to touch on regarding the Bills' offense versus the defense?
No.
The one thing that I wanted to bring up, and it's not really particular to this game, but the Bills have only missed 13 tackles this year. This is the third fewest in the NFL. This, to me, this is the biggest turnaround in every McDermott era. I've never, they've gradually gotten better, but they've always been bottom half of the league, and that's just awesome to see. That's the one thing I'm waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah, the secondary's been, we're kind of used to seeing missed tackles in there, and these cornerbacks can actually tackle, including Elam, who, wasn't good coming out of college, or at least he wasn't graded to be good.
Right.
So,
I mean, I would like him. I mean, Trey White was not a great tackler either, but he at least, there's a difference between not being a great tackler and somebody who shies away from contact, and I don't really see either of them having that. But that's just a little stat I wanted to throw out there. And then lastly, the Chiefs defense has blitzed on 24% of the plays, which is the highest in the NFL. It actually doubles the league average. So do we see them kind of throw the kitchen sink? Who knows? I wouldn't if I were them.
Spagnuolo last year, I think it was when they played the Bills in the playoffs. I don't know if this is verbatim, but I think it was the lowest that they blitzed in the whole season, or at least percentage wise. It didn't work out. They won the game, but it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You might see a little bit of some time blitzes, maybe some disguised blitzes, kind of similar to what Buffalo does, but for the most part, I think they're gonna sit back, probably stay in nickel.
Yeah, I foresee Snead blitzing off the inside nickel corner position. He's very good at that. As is Taron Johnson, which is something we actually haven't seen either. So we'll move on to our final segment of the game. We'll hit you with some questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions. He who answers the 5 questions. 3 questions may cross in safety.
But what if you get a question wrong?
Then you are cast into the gorge of eternal peril.
Oh, wacko.
Who's going to answer the questions?
All right, Cody, question number 1.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions.
I want to ask it again.
He
All right,
who
question
answers
number
the
1.
5 questions. 3 questions.
Question number 1. Who or what is the most underrated part of this Bills organization?
I think it's the secondary coaching. John Butler, Frazier, McD, and the ability to coach up the secondary. Over the last 4 years, the Bills have the number 1 pass defense with 192 yards per game, and they've given up 72 touchdowns in the last 4 years. Both of them are number 1 in football. That goes along with Jim Salgado, safeties coach. So I think you see this year, whether it's Benford or Elam, or it's been Taron Johnson, or if you even go back to guys before that, it's kind of been a plug and play. And the Bills have just continuously shown that whoever steps up or is the next man up, they're able to get them up to speed and to play at a high level. So I think it's the ability to coach the secondary.
That's a good one. I was just going blanket McDermott. The fact that he hasn't won Coach of the Year is. He had a couple, the first year was obvious to me, taking that team to the playoffs with what they had after just gutting it. You got Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. And then the year in 2020 where they only lose 3 games. I mean, it starts and ends with him, right?
Yeah, I think he didn't win it in 2017 because he pulled Tyrod for Peterman for that one game, and everybody had a shit fit about it.
Yeah, well, realistically, you're right. Are the people who are voting for it, do they even know? They probably don't even know that happened,
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I
you're
think
right.
Belichick won it again that year.
Right. But just I mean, he's a guy who you'd let your daughter date. I feel like, it's like he's just in every aspect. I mean, if it wasn't for him, Brandon Beane isn't on this team. And if it's Brandon Beane's not the general manager, or excuse me, not on the team, but organization, if Brandon Beane isn't a part of this organization, Josh Allen isn't coming to Buffalo. I truly believe that. I mean, what they had to do to get him, and then to be able to do that was great. But then again, who knows? Maybe we don't trade away our pick to pick Patrick Mahomes. It's an interesting history where we are entwined with the Chiefs, the way it all worked out.
Yeah, that's like, would you make that trade? Would you trade Josh Allen and Tre'Davious White for Patrick Mahomes?
Well, and it goes a step further because it's Deion Dawkins as well.
Yeah. So I mean, you have a
'Cause he was
franchise
part
left
of that.
tackle, a franchise quarterback.
No.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And it has
obviously
no, even if Allen was just in that second tier below Mahomes, I still wouldn't, because you're talking about CB1 and a left tackle, and a guy who can get it done at quarterback. So question number 2, what is your key to a Bills victory?
my key to Bills' victory is getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. We brought in Von Miller for this game, like this game down the road in the playoffs, hopefully. But in reality, we came up short because we couldn't get there. This is the Von Miller effect. We brought him in here for this. So, with the second year of Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Phillips, all these guys, do whatever you got to do to cause this guy problems and get to Patrick Mahomes. Getting to him is the difference in this game.
Right. Whether it is his play directly or his effect he's had already on the players, Von Miller is that piece that the Bills covet. You talk about a closer. I mean, it's been beat to death, but this is the show me the baby moment. And clearly, when you do not pressure Mahomes and you let him either take what the defense is giving him, or able to really, I mean, there's no Allen on the run is great. But the things that Mahomes can do, the unorthodox style, that I'll give you, who were we arguing with? What was his name? David. That'll give you, there's no one who can really, it's like he's playing basketball on a football field almost. So
yeah.
When the Bills beat Kansas City in the regular season, he was off kilter a lot. He was throwing off platform. He was trying to escape and wasn't able to, and it forced errors. And that was the difference in the regular season game. So you're 100% right. I think everyone is, obviously Allen's got to do what Allen's got to do. He's got to show up. But that defensive line, they got to show why they invested so much in it. And question number 3, what should be the Bills' focal point for the bye?
I think it's scheming up the run game. I feel like I talk about this every week because I do. Against Pittsburgh, they actually looked pretty good. I don't think they probably carried it 8, 9 times, so it wasn't with any kind of, you know, big numbers, but it felt like the run blocking was a little bit better. Guys were able to get out, get into the second level, beat a couple of defenders. Cook got his first touchdown, which was the first rushing touchdown this year outside of Josh Allen. So it was a start, but to take this game into the later months where we're going to be dealing with cold weather, it's a must. At some point, I'm going to keep freaking hammering it. You got to figure this shit out with the run game. Make it work.
Yeah, I mean the obvious answer is going to be starting the run game. It's something that we talked about. I don't know, last 2.5 years. I want to say ever since Singletary's gotten here, pretty much. We looked for the run game to take that next step. I'll take it a half step. I just think we need to find a way to get Cook involved. I really think, whether it is handing him off, whether it's getting him in the slot, it may be swing passes. It doesn't really matter, but I do think if you're going to activate a guy like him, you're going to draft him in the second round, you got to get him involved. I mean, he's not going to, maybe the first touchdown was that
icebreaker.
Yeah, maybe it was, but still, you got to give him reps. And I understand that in key situations, they're not going to look towards someone that they can't trust. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to play him, deactivate him. I mean, there's no point of taking up a roster spot. He's not playing. He's not returning kicks. He's not doing anything like that. So just get him involved. And it doesn't have to be, they don't necessarily have to scheme away. But if they go that route too, that's fine. But get James Cook involved. All right. Before we get out of here, Cody, let's get us a score prediction. What do you got?
Before the year, I had us going into the bye 4-2 with losses to the Ravens and the Chiefs. I changed that when we went to the Ravens, and I'm going to change it again. Andy Reid is a hell of a coach, and the Chiefs team is a hell of a team. Arrowhead is a hell of a place to play. But the Bills offense, I do believe, is the best offense in football. And the Chiefs defense does not scare me. So with that being said, Bills 34, Chiefs 27.
That's a good score. I think that's the score I took. No, I did 17 for the last game. Yeah, I mean, everything you said, it's going to be a showdown for sure. But at the end of the day, the Bills beat the Chiefs last year. Who got the number 1 seed?
Yeah.
Kansas City. So it's important, but what is it? Week 5? Week 6?
Yeah.
Either both teams are going to be okay regardless. The Chiefs never looked worse coming into and out of last year's game, and they really turned it on at the end of the year. So that being said, I look for a back and forth game, a little bit more defense than what a lot of people are expecting. They're expecting 40 plus. I'm going to go 31 Bills, 27 Chiefs. Solid game. Go into the bye week, get healthy, come out on Monday night, and beat those lowly Packers. I'll give you the last word. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Cody?
I think we pretty much said it all. I mean, just to jump on that again, the teams are very evenly matched. I just think that people really underestimate how good this Bills defense is. I mean, 7 points in the second half in what, 4 games, 5 games? 5 games? We're in 5 games. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you played, the Dolphins, the Rams, the Titans. You didn't play schlubs, so I just feel like 27, giving a team 27 is me giving the Chiefs a ton of respect. And they do deserve it. They are the cream of the crop. They have been the class of the AFC for the last few years. I just think right now the Bills are a better football team. Now, can they overcome Andy Reid and Arrowhead? That remains to be seen. But on paper, roster-wise, looking at both sides of the ball, I like the Bills.
And with that said, let's go Bills. We'll see you.
Go Bills.
Before I get out of here, we're not going to be here next week. I will be on a bye. The Bills will be on the bye. So we will catch you guys before the Monday night game. Just wanted to get that in there. So we will see you then. Enjoy your 1 o'clock games, and try not to bite all your fingernails off while we're waiting for the game.
You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. Josh.
Got me feeling like I'm
Who? Josh. Yeah.
Josh